have the light above my head, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. All right. Welcome, Carol. This is another episode of Women in the Military podcast. I'm excited to have you here and hear your story. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Amanda. It's a pleasure to be able to tell my story and, the VFW story, really. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear both your story and then to learn more about the VFW. I am a member and I've been a member for the past few months, but there's still a lot more to learn. So let's go way back to why did you decide to join the military? Go back to the beginning.
Oh, my goodness. It was actually almost, it was September of 1977, and I had already had 3 years of college behind me, but I did not have enough money to keep going. My father had passed away when I was 15, and so it was a struggle to, figure out what to do, especially in a small town in Iowa. And that was my original meaning for joining the military, but it's not what kept me in for 36 years. I could have chosen to get out after my initial hitch in the Army, but I I made the decision. I was getting out at Fort Devens, Massachusetts. I was coming back from Germany, and they asked me the very simple question, what would it do to keep you in the Army? And I said, I'd really like a medical MOS. And just like that, he said, done. That was the retention NCO. And he said, done. And I said, well, that seems pretty easy. Can I have that in writing? Of course,
Right.
And he said, of course, we'll get a contract. And that is truly what kept me in, the desire to advance my career. And then what really, set the tone for me was the camaraderie in the military. I was craving that. And, I had good friends in high school, but not very many of them joined the military as I did. And I really wanted the experience of seeing the world, seeing what was in my history books. And the Army gave that to me. And I'm very fortunate. 90% of my career was very, very good. I think everybody has ups and downs, but I would do it all again, in a heartbeat, because it really was a good career for me and gave me focus and gave me a lot of guidance that I needed.
Yeah. So it sounds like you switched career fields during your career, but can you talk about what career field you originally started in?
Yes, I started out in communications. I was way back in the day, it was called a teletype operator. We sent and received coded messages, really old fashioned now compared to now, but back then it was all encrypted and sent out by teletype. And so I worked in a message center and did that in Germany. And, it was very different. But I knew that was not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But when I decided I was going to get out and they offered my medical career that I really wanted, that's when I took it. So I'm very
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah. I think that I mean it shows that when you're not happy that you have to do what's best for you. Like maybe staying in the military seemed like there were some good things, but it wasn't the right career field. And then he was like, "Okay, how do I get you to stay in?" And you're like, "I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you because I know what I want."
Yes.
And I think that's another thing is so many people don't know what they want, but you had an answer. And when people have those opportunities and they can say, "I want this," it usually works out that they can make it happen.
Yes, and I'm just very fortunate. It was the right place at the right time, and I had a retention NCO ask me that question. I didn't know about asking that question, and I think everybody needs to feel like they can be proactive about their own career and their choices in the military. A lot of times they're there, sometimes they're not. But it was that very simple question that kept me in for the long haul with the Army, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
So after you after you had the conversation and he said you can do medical, what was the process of like cross training and then going into the medical career field?
It wasn't terrible. I got out of active duty and went into reserves, and I got to choose my new career field before I came back to Iowa, and it was a matter of waiting for my school then down at Fort Sam Houston. It was initially the medic and then a cardiac technician, and I did that for a number of years, but it was a very select few people, and it was very hard to get promoted. And unfortunately, I stayed in that for quite a while because I loved what I was doing, but I couldn't get promoted. And so I asked to go to nursing school, and they said yes. And so that's how I ended up being a nurse finally in
And so
my last 20 years, actually.
okay. So how long were you in as like a medic cardiac? I don't remember
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
did.
yeah. It's a cardiac technician. I'm not even sure if they have that anymore. It's evolved into a lot of different things, but I think I did that for almost 10 years. But I did love doing that, but I just could not get promoted, and so I had to
Yeah.
make that decision, and it was the better decision for me to move on to a nursing career, which I loved also, and I was very, very happy doing that.
Yeah. And then another example of you like asking questions and knowing what you wanted and taking that, this time instead of someone asking you, you asked the question like, can I do this? And then it worked out that you were able to do that. So that's really interesting.
Yes, well, actually, initially, that retention NCO asked me, what would it, how do we keep you in? And I had that answer. I've always wanted that medical background, but at the time when I came in, there was no opening for me.
Yeah.
So, it was very, the right timing for me. So I was very lucky.
Yeah. And so what was the process of going to become a nurse? Did you have to get out of the military again or did you stay in? How did that work?
No, actually, it was through reserves. I was able to do what was called a STAR program. I was able to select my school, and it was paid for through the reserves. And it was a fairly easy process to do. I'm not even sure if they offer that anymore. I believe they still do, but it's through reserves that I was able to do that. I was able to live in my hometown and go to school full time and work part time because it doesn't pay for everything, of course, and still stay in reserves. So it worked out good. It took a lot of time and patience on everybody's part, but it was so worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the military is always changing the, like, names and the different programs that are available, so you just have to do your research, talk to different leadership, and find out what programs are available. Because there are a lot of great programs that can help you, but I don't think they ever stay the same name or the same, like, exact process. It's always changing and
Right.
always different.
Right. And you don't know what you don't know to ask either. And that's where it's important for senior leaders to do a lot of mentoring and say just ask the people, the lower enlisted, what will it take to keep you in the military? And a lot of times they're unhappy with their first AIT choice, and hopefully that other choice can be offered to them. It is about luck and timing sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I know when I got out of the military, nobody asked me, like, "How can we keep you in?" And
Yes.
there probably was an option where I was like because my husband and I were both in and we were 2 different career fields, and had I been able to transfer into his, then I might have stayed in, but that wasn't
Right.
something that ever came up in the
It wasn't even
conversation.
offered to you, and what a shame, because I think that's a missed opportunity for the military. attrition rate is so high because a lot of times people are not happy with their first career choice. And, just that simple offer, I think, is a tremendous way to keep people in the military.
Yeah, and we were dual military, and we just saw the writing on the wall of being separated, and we're like, "This is
Mhm.
a lot of sacrifice, and eventually one of us is gonna have to get out because 'cause they're not gonna station
Right,
us together," and so
right.
then well, that was but there wasn't really any support on the military side, and we felt like it was our decision to try and either work to try and get stationed together or to just make the decision to get out.
Yeah, and what a shame, because I think a lot of people experience that, especially if they are married. One spouse has to make the choice of getting out, or take the chances of being separated, which is extremely hard on a marriage, and it's hard on the career because you may not be as focused
Yeah.
on what you need to do for your job. So it is a shame that, we can't figure that out a little bit better, but it is the military also. And they're not always so accommodating.
Yeah. There's a give and take. So, I mean, I understand that you can't accommodate everyone, but I like that they worked with you and
Yeah.
opened doors for you and made it possible. So, when you got when you finished school, then did you go back into the reserve? Well, you were still in the reserve, right, the whole time?
Yes, I was still in reserves full time. And then I eventually got called to, well, I did several mobilizations. After I became a nurse, I was in Guatemala, Honduras. Guatemala was 6 months. I can't even remember how long Honduras was now, but several mobilizations and, doing some more reserve time. And then eventually I got called to go help instruct EMT courses up at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin for medics that were deploying to Iraq. And then when I came back from that, I was offered an opportunity to go with a expeditionary sustainment command to Iraq, which I very much felt like I needed to do. I had spent over 30 years of my career in the Army, and I had not deployed. I felt I had not done my job yet. And so the opportunity came to me, and I talked with my husband, and he said, go do what you need to do. And so my very last tour was Iraq in 2010 and 11.
Okay. And you were there for a
For
year
a
and
year. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, a year and a few, yeah, some change. Yeah.
plus or minus. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yes.
So you were
Yeah.
there for a year. And what were you doing in Iraq? I knew you were a nurse, but there's so many jobs that nurses can do.
Yes, absolutely. I actually went it's a logistical unit, and they really just needed a medical person to do a lot of the reporting, disease and injuries for the command. And it was quite a large command that we did have on Balad in Iraq. And so I wasn't stitching anybody up or doing any heroics or anything. It was a lot of reporting and teaching while I was there. So yeah, I can't say enough about my command. They were a very good command, and I was very lucky. I had very good people that I was with, and they took very good care of me. I'd never met them before. I had trained with them for 2 weeks out at Hunter Liggett, California, and then left. That was the only time I had ever met them, and there was well over 400 people in that unit, but every one of them were good people. So I was very, very lucky.
That's awesome. Yeah, when Reserve and National Guard, I guess National Guard more deploy as a big unit, but still it can happen. And I was an individual augmentee, well, even though I was active duty in the Air Force, and they put a bunch of us all together. We didn't really know each other, and
Sure.
so but we need those support pieces to like fill in the different holes. So, such an important role that was played by you, and that you were able to go and do that.
Yes, I finally fulfilled my duty that I thought I had, to deploy and, be, what I was supposed to do. And so I was very grateful for that.
Yeah. Were there any challenges while you were deployed that you experienced?
Physical challenges, I had a very bad hip, which I didn't know about at the time. But um, as far as everything else, it's what the military is. You're used to being out in a field environment. Balad was not terrible as far as environments go in a foreign country, in a hostile environment. It was Air Force driven. And so I was very grateful. Air Force always takes care of their people very well. And so we all were very grateful to be on Balad, actually. Even though it was nicknamed Mortaritaville, we had lobbings all the time, but luckily the Iraqis were very poor shots and had very poor equipment. So
Yeah.
we, yeah, we all came home. So
Yeah, someone when I left for Afghanistan, they were like, "It's like if you're aiming at the ocean and you still miss, that's how accurate the
right.
they are." And I was like, "That's kinda comforting because that's not very accurate if you're aiming for the ocean and you still miss."
Right, right. They just had very poor equipment and very
Mhm.
poor training. They were you know, just throwing things in the air, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So, when you came home, you said that was your last assignment, so
It was.
what was that experience like going from, active duty, overseas in a war zone to coming home and getting out?
You know, I'm very lucky. I didn't experience what a lot of men and women did experience over there, as far as kicking indoors and taking prisoners or being exposed to a really um, harsh situation, like a lot of them did. Uh, so the transition for me was very easy to come back. Of course, it's strange to come home, when you're in a foreign land like Iraq. But I experienced a lot of strange lands throughout my career. When I was active duty, I spent 5 years in Germany. And as I said, a lot of mobilizations prior to that. And to me, it was just very interesting. And coming home, I was very fortunate that I did not have those experiences that a lot of my brothers and sisters did. So um, coming home for me was relatively easy.
And then what was the process of leaving the military after? Was it like all at once or was there a few months time in between?
It was I did have a bad hip that had to be looked at, and so I was in the WTU unit for a while. But once that was all taken care of, it was just a matter about processing normally, like people do, turning in equipment and signing on the dotted line. That I've turned in everything that I'm supposed to, that I was signed for from whatever, from 36 years. They even asked me for my laundry bag that I was initially issued when I came in, and I said, "You've got to be kidding. I do not have that, or I don't know where it is." So I did end up going to a military surplus store and bought a laundry bag just so I could turn one in.
You're
It was
like,
rather it was
I don't have that anymore."
Yeah, it was rather comical, actually.
You're like, "Why do you think I still have that 36 years later?"
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that it's not falling apart if I still
yeah.
did.
It was rather strange, but I said, "Well, yeah, if that's what it takes to let me go, then I will go purchase one. I have no problem with that."
So it sounds like it was pretty seamless and you came back. Were you working because you were in the reserve, were you working full time in the reserve or did you have a full time employment?
No, I
at
did
home?
have full-time employment, and so was very fortunate to the last 2 years. I was up in Fort McCoy, and then I went to Iraq immediately after that. And when I did come back, I was not able to work as a nurse anymore because my hip was very bad, and I couldn't scoot around as a nurse like I used to. As a nurse is usually on the go a lot, and so I did retire. But I was okay with retirement. I was good.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So so what was the next step after you left the military and you retired and then you began your next phase of life? What was the next step after that?
The next phase of my life was the VFW, and I um, we had lived in a different town, and we moved to Des Moines, Iowa. And we both had a very good friend. My husband and I had a very good friend that had joined the VFW at a nearby post, and she said, "Come on with me. I think you'll like this." And uh, that's where we started. That's where I started my VFW career, was that day. I knew there was a bond there that I enjoyed and I missed. Talking with fellow Army people and learning, a little bit more about what the Marines did and the Navy and the Air Force. And so 2012 is when I joined the VFW, and I en- I enjoyed it so much. I went through nearly every job that the VFW had to offer, and then I became the state commander and national counsel after that. And that's when I decided there was an opportunity that um, you know we go by conferences in the VFW, and so I decided my conference was very open-minded about me going forward as a junior vice. And they embraced me and supported me. And that's how I ended up as the national commander here this past August. So I'm very grateful to my state and my conference for having faith in me that I was the right person to have here. And it is, being the first female. That was not my intent, to be the first female, but I am grateful for that, because I hope now other females can feel like they belong and should belong. They should not feel like it is the good old boys club. And I want to change that. And I want the perception of the public to change of what the VFW is. It's not grandpa's smoky old bar anymore. We are so much in the communities, and we have so much to offer communities, and we want to be in the communities doing work with the public and letting them see that we still have something to offer, and we are still serving. And that is one of our hashtags, is still serving, because that's in our military DNA, is to keep giving back to a community, and giving back to our own fellow brothers and sisters who need help also. And we do that with our service officers, and helping with disability claims, and which we do for free, and I'm very proud of that. And advocating for fellow veterans. My mission this year is to advocate for the Major Richard Starr Act, and to get that across the line. It's shameful that veterans have to choose between a medical disability and their pension. They are two different pots of money. And that is a real focus of mine this year, to help get that across the finish line. It's been going on for more than 20 years to try and get this act passed. And so I'm very passionate about the advocacy part of what the VFW does.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know what the VFW does, and you just named a bunch of things. And my husband actually we were talking about the Major Richard Starr Act last night because I was trying to explain. I was like, "You can get your pension or you can get your medical disability. You can't get both. You have to choose." And I was like, "But there is this thing that they've been trying to pass for years." And
Yes,
so I think that's a really important platform because you're right. It shouldn't be a choice of one or the other, and it should
right.
be that you get your full entitlement. And even the story of, like, what's named after, he died and his wife died, and, like, that never got pushed through, and so it is
Yeah.
so important that we advocate for that and make that change
Yes.
happen.
Yes, and what a shame that neither one of them will see, the fruition of this, and it's just shameful. It's gone on so long, and it's time to get it done and get it passed. And so I am working really hard to try and get that done.
That's that's awesome. If someone wanted to help with the advocacy, what would be the best thing that, like, someone like me could do to help support you?
Oh my goodness. We have state legislators through the VFW. I know the Legion and DAV does also. And we also have national chairmen that we go to Washington, D.C. twice a year to visit with our legislators and tell them what our priorities are as far as the VFW and veterans that are concerned. You can always get with your local VFW and ask when, are you going to the State House anytime soon? Can I, let me get in touch with your national chairman so I can help write letters, make phone calls, be that little gnat in your senator's and your congressman's ear and say, it's time to get this act done. And, it's the squeaky wheel sometimes, and this is the year that we're going to really be that squeaky wheel.
Yeah. So it sounds like we need to reach out to our congressmen and senators to let them know that this is important to us. And then also if we can support the VFW or any other veteran organization that we're a part of. So, yeah.
Absolutely. We all have that same mission, of supporting and helping fellow veterans. And that mission will never stop. That is a forever mission. And that's what we're here for. And we just celebrated Founders Day for the VFW this past weekend in Ohio. And I'm very proud that I was able to go there and celebrate that event. It's been around for 126 years. And so I hope that our founding fathers are smiling and seeing that we're still doing the work that they intended when they started the VFW.
Yeah. And another thing that you mentioned that I think we should at least highlight is helping veterans with disability claims because I know that there are some companies that are out there that charge veterans. So I want to make sure that we touch on the fact that the VFW has resources that are free to support veterans. So, how do veterans get access to that?
They have to look online to find probably a veteran service officer. And again, the Legion, DAV, VFW, AMVETS all usually have service officers listed within the state and counties sometimes, and they are all free. Every one of the service organizations provides that service for free, and we're fighting very hard against what you call the claim sharks. That prey upon desperate veterans. Who will sign away half of their disability sometimes, to a company that has no scruples or ethics or morals. And we're fighting very hard against that, that we provide all that free.
Yeah. Yeah, I used VSO when I went through my disability claim, and yeah, it was free. He helped me every step of the way, made it super simple, and I'm really grateful that I was able to use his help. And I did use the internet to find it because you have to find it in your local area. There's not like
Right.
one for everyone, so that's why you're directing people to look at the internet because you have to look where you specifically live to find what you need.
Right. Or you can even, go to a local VFW and say, how do I get in touch with a service officer? How, where do I go? A lot of times they're in the federal buildings. They're given an office in a federal building, but, just contact one of those local organizations, Legion, VFW, DAV, and find out where their service officers are, because they are out there to help, and
Yeah.
they enjoy that, and that's what they do.
Yeah, and it's so important to file your disability claim to, earn the benefit that you earned in service.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Is
Yeah.
there any others things happening within the VFW that people should know about?
I have three focuses during my year, and advocacy is number one, and making sure our service officers are taken care of in the way they should be, and highlighting them in the community, and our POW MIA mission. It's been kind of lost for several years, but I want to make sure that the public and communities understand that, there's still over 1,500 missing in Vietnam. There's over 80,000 missing from World War II. A lot of those, unfortunately, are from ships, and they're non-recoverable, but doesn't mean we forget about them. So that is another main mission of mine this year, is to make sure that we bring home everybody that we can, and have that final salute on American soil. It's important to our fallen and to that family, and so I'm very very involved in that also.
Yeah, those are three great platforms to stand on and so important and, supporting veterans and their families and especially those that we've lost who didn't make it home.
Right, right, yes.
The other question I have about the VFW is how can you join the VFW? Like as a veteran, what qualifications do you need? And then what's the next step in joining?
Typically it is military that have served on foreign soil in a hostile environment. But there are other eligibility criteria, especially with the Navy. They're in the water, and if they're
Right,
off, uh, there's so many miles sometimes that they're offshore of some place that is eligibility. Um, but a lot of times on their DD 214s, it will say hostile fire, imminent danger. If they were in Iraq, Afghanistan, a lot of times other covert places that are not necessarily listed for the public, but
right.
that would be the initial criteria, and we can always, submit it, to see, if that is one of the campaigns that is eligible or not. We have a whole listing of campaigns that are eligible. Somalia, for Marines, Beirut. I mean, there's several. Vietnam, of course. We unfortunately we're losing a lot of our World War II guys, but and Korea, but yeah, typically it is boots on ground in a foreign country like that, and then finding a local VFW. You can even go on vfw.org and look for a post on our website and see where a local post is or closest to you. Uh, a lot of times in smaller towns, not so easy, but if you really want to belong to the greatest combat veterans organization in the world, we would love to have you. You can even be a member at large. You don't have to necessarily go to meetings all the time, but when you're ready, uh, we'd love to have you as part of our mission of what we do, taking care of fellow veterans and being another part of the community again.
Yeah. Yeah, and the post that I go to, they have in-person meetings, but then they also have them on Zoom, which is really
Yeah,
nice because it's hard for me to with my husband traveling and, and having kids at home, and so having the Zoom option. So see if you can find a post, even if they're not in your local area, that you could still join from afar because I think having the technology available so that you don't have to be in person. I mean, in person's
absolutely.
great, but it allows you to still be involved without having to be there
Yeah.
every month or whenever they meet.
Right, absolutely. There's always options now. We've proved with COVID, Zoom works great, or whatever social media that your post uses. But it's especially some of the older veterans who cannot get out anymore. It's still a way for them to stay connected and feel like they're still part of, the VFW or whatever organization they choose. But yeah, technology is a blessing and a curse sometimes.
For sure. Is there anything either from your time in the military or your time with the VFW that we didn't touch on that you want to cover?
We've done a lot here in half an hour already. I feel like I've put my life story out there, at least half of it. But I'm just so grateful that I've been given this opportunity to um, be the commander in chief for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And I truly want not just females to feel like, they belong, but anybody who's, you know, not had a voice necessarily in the VFW or have felt undervalued in their military career, that they should feel that way and they should feel like they belong and share their story. We all have a story to tell about our careers, and if we don't tell the stories, they get lost, and people don't know and understand you know our experience that we had, good, bad, or indifferent. We deserve to be able to tell our stories, and nobody understands that better than a fellow veteran. And
For sure.
yeah, so I hope that anybody listening feels like they should belong. We're not just a building; it's an organization. It's not a building. It's not a bar necessarily. Although that's a good place to get together sometimes, but it is about that feeling that you have with the people that served just like you did, and same experiences.
Yeah, that's true. That's what it's all about. I want to end the interview with one last question, which is what advice would you give to young women who are considering joining the military?
Oh gosh, it is a hard decision. I basically walked into my recruiter's office and they're like, Come in. You've got 3 years of college. Yes, come in here." But it is, it's a little daunting because you are signing and swearing that you will defend and uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that is a serious, commitment. But if you feel that you have that passion in you to serve your country, to make sure that what we do is preserved, then by all means, try it. There's no obligation beyond 8 years, and sometimes less. I don't know. Some of the branches have even less, I believe. But I don't think it's a harmful thing to do anymore. It gives discipline to people, and sometimes they don't know what they want, and it's a good way to find out, what is out there beyond your home and your four walls. I know when I grew up on a farm in Iowa, I never would have experienced Germany. I never could have afforded that, I'm sure. But there are so many other experiences, and gave me a career that I loved. Several different careers that I enjoyed, and not everybody can get to college, can afford college. But and we provided the Forever GI Bill. Now the VFW was extremely um, forefront on making sure that the GI Bill lasted forever, not just 10 years. You had to use it in 10 years and that was it. So it's a forever GI Bill now, and the VFW was directly responsible for that. And we're very proud of that fact that nobody has to make that choice now of just 10 years. But
Yeah.
that the military is not a bad place to start. It certainly was not for me, and it's a way to experience something very, very different while you're serving your country.
Yeah. And I wrote a book, A Girl's Guide to Military Service. So if you're interested in joining the military and you have questions, I mean, I went over all those things. You have to decide if it's right for you, and then also tips for your success. So I'll have a link to it in the show notes if you want to check it
Yes.
out.
Yes, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Carol, for being a guest on the show. I'm really glad we got to do this interview.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I hope that I've answered some questions about what the VFW is and what we can do and how we're still serving.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda.